Hello? And we couldn't be happier because happy is what happens when all your dreams come true. Now, that is a line from my all time favorite musical, Wicked. I am a very huge fan of the musical. I relate to Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West. I think that's my life story. I even have her tattooed here. Of course, you guys can't see it. But yes, I had her tattooed. So you could just imagine how major it was for me to see it live in Broadway in New York. I think that was like 2 weeks ago when I ticked off that item off my bucket list. And, most of you probably knew me, of course, as Eva Le Queen, Drag Race Philippines Season 1 finalist. Thank you. Queen of Opulence, narrator of the season. Tampal Puke, thank you so much. The rightful winner of Snatch Game. But before all these things, what you guys didn't know was that I was a baby queen from Singapore, and I used to just perform in front of 7 other people every night in a club. 7 people. But just a few weeks ago, I was greeted by hundreds, thousands of people as I walked the big pink runway at DragCon at Los Angeles. I met RuPaul, right? And to top it all off is that I won the Best Beauty Guru at WOWY Awards, which means this face is the most beautiful face of drag across all franchises in RuPaul's Dragverse for the year. Right? Crazy, right? And now I am in front of all of you. I am gracefully having a nervous breakdown right now, but I am also very happy celebrating breaking yet another glass ceiling for the community, being the first Filipino drag queen to ever have been invited to do a TED Talk. Some people, some drag queens, they like to perform in stadiums. They want to go tours all over the world. But for me, this TED Talk is my Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl of public speaking. And right this very moment, this is what you're witnessing right now is a dream coming to life right in front of your very eyes. So I think by now we could already conclude that I'm living quite a happy, badass life, ain't I? Right? And I'm telling you, it just keeps getting better. So alluring Euphoria. How does one attract happiness in a society plagued by indifference? Honestly, it's such an incredibly serendipitous time in my life to be doing such a talk. Can I have hands of people in this room who, in a heartbeat, can say that they are happy? In a heartbeat. Are you happy? Oh, that's something. Yes, thank you. Now, can I have hands of those people who are hustling in both studies and in their work and have found themselves in a state of severe exhaustion and fatigue? Right? Now imagine that same scenario. And I want to see a hands of the people who are in that same level of exhaustion, but still found themselves smiling uncontrollably. By the way, we're just asking sober people, okay? You are dead tired, but you're smiling to yourself like crazy. Anyone has been through that? Okay. Other than you, I also did. So I did. So today, the words that I will be sharing with you, of course, are not based on any scientific statistical data. Of course, who am I? I'm just some famous drag queen, But what I have is that very experience. What I have is but my own meandering experience, a first-hand experience on how I have been living my life. So sweet. Sometimes it just makes me want to cry at night. Do you all want to hear that? You want? You guys? Yes. Yes. Thank you. So first, you're probably asking, Miss Eva, how did I even get to this point? So let me just take you back real quick on what happened in my life. I am now at the 3rd reboot of my life. If it were a if it were a Drag Race Philippines, we're already at season 3. Okay? The first season was back when I was in college. Pretty much like a lot of you here, you know. I was a nursing student at Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila. And mind you, I was a bright and stellar one, you know. But it was in our generation before K to 12 that you were expected to figure out what you are supposed to do with your life at the age of 15 or 16. When you are young, you are expected that, you think that the life you know is all that there is to you. And the funny part there is that you were expected to have figured out your entire life based on the course that you will take in college. So when I was in college, I thought that I'll be a nurse. I'll be going abroad, and that I'll be Sandra Oh in Grey's Anatomy, But somehow, no matter how good I was with what I do, I always knew that I'm not happy doing bedside care. And the deal breaker for me was that my margin of error is a human life at stake if I go through this path. So it's a salute to all people working in the medical field. You guys, what you do are amazing. You guys are real life heroes. Let's give them a round of applause. It's a very noble job. It's very hard, and I know that it just wasn't for me. So, guess what? I took the boards. I had my license just to stash it all away, close the chapter, and move on. Now, life went on, kept working here and there. At the age of 23, I moved to Singapore for an adventure. Hence, the second season of my life. Cute. I don't know if you guys can see this. That was the Merlion next to me. This photo was taken back in 2011. So I lived in Singapore for 8 years. Started from the ground. Like really, I was dirt poor. I was crashing over at a friend's place, sleeping on the floor. I would have resumes printed out and go to the malls one by one and say, do you have job openings for foreigners? Do you have job openings for us? I really did that at 23. And then I worked hard enough to send myself again to school. So I took a marketing degree at Singapore Polytechnic, and then I climbed up the corporate ladder, was able to work at one of the Fortune 100 companies in the world at the Central Business District of Singapore, Asia's seat of power. It was an amazing life. It was the corporate life of my dreams. But somehow I still felt a dull emptiness. It's like that crisis was like climbing up a ladder, and when you're at the top, you realize that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. That was my dilemma. So that crisis hit me so hard, and I had to come back home, leave everything behind, and start all over again. Because I was unhappy. So when I came back here in the Philippines, all I had was my wig and my makeup. And I took jobs at the clubs here in the Philippines. I traded my 6-digit salary to 500 pesos per night per show. Imagine performing all night, and your customers, the bottle that the customers have are more expensive than what you've worked for the entire night. So I felt that the work that I do in the clubs gave me very little value for the art and time and effort that I give. So pandemic happened and I started Drag Playhouse. Cute. Yes. So I started Drag Playhouse with my drag sisters, Marina Summers, Ovi, Cunt, and Prince, of course. They are my like-minded sisters. Even before Drag Race, we've always had a vision to elevate the Filipino drag. So together, we mounted and produced events and contents that made us known in our niche market. So before drag went mainstream, our names are already there because of what we did. We want to elevate it. We want to bring drag outside the nightclub setting. And little did we know that what we do has put us under the radar of Drag Race Philippines, and the rest is history. You already know what happened. So that's it. No kidding. Now, in retrospect, when I look at every time I reboot my life, there's one thing in common. It always starts with a state of unhappiness. In my life, it's nearly impossible to figure out what makes you happy. Because if we all know how to do it, then we would have probably been very happy, right? But you will always be 100% certain of the things that make you unhappy, of the things that hurt, of the things that make you sad, lonely, or depressed. You're always certain of what kills you inside. So, my first note for all of you today is that it takes courage to be happy. You know, what I've noticed about a lot of people that I know that were unhappy is that a lot of them don't act under unhappiness. I've reached that point before too. You know, sometimes I was too paralyzed to make any decisions and take the leap of faith. But if you're already an unhappy person, the chances of you living the life of your dreams will always be zero unless you do something about it, right? You are the captain of your soul, says Ernest Hemingway in Invictus. So if you guys want to be happy, you have to decide that you want to be happy. You have to choose it and be in control. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about happiness, is about mindfulness. Okay? Going back to my life in Singapore, I used to be a corporate project manager. So when you're a project manager, you multitask. You do things, you deal with multiple stakeholders, you deal with timetables, you do this, you do that. You are expected to worry about things that wouldn't even happen. You are expected to always be 5 steps ahead. And I think that's a kind of habit that exists pretty much in our generation. You always worry about things. That had made me a very efficient corporate tool, but that screwed me up here really, really bad. You know, sometimes I would get panic attacks while taking a shower because I'm already worrying about something else. You know, it's a very common thing that we are physically here, our minds are drifting somewhere else. So other than the panic attacks, the worst of it all was that habit took me away from moments where I should have been happy. That not being mindful of my presence took me away from celebrations or family dinners wherein I was physically there, but my mind is elsewhere. It took away moments that I should have been proud of myself because I know I did good, but I didn't pay attention to it. And the most heartbreaking of all is that it took me away from conversations with people that I love that should have left a mark, but I just didn't listen. Happiness during that time in my life didn't come because I was never present enough to accept it. If there's one thing that the pandemic actually taught me is that it kept me there. You know, for 2 years we were forced to sit still and be present and be reminded of how fragile life is, you know, and it taught me one of the greatest lessons in life, which is to be present. That when you are aware of the things that make you happy, do not let it slip your consciousness. And best believe you will find more of what makes you happy in every corner if you don't let go. Now you probably ask, you're welcome if you're not, you probably ask, so Miss Eva, what makes you happy? What makes you happy? What makes me happy? I'd say happiness ultimately is what you make of it. You know, I want to share during DragCon LA, I have met probably 50 Filipino nurses that came by my booth, took photos with me, and every time without fail, I will look at them in the eye and say, you know what? In a parallel universe, I would have lived the exact same life that you have right now. Because that was the path I was looking at. In some parallel universe, I thought I'll be a nurse in the US. Be the flamboyant gay man that I am and go to DragCon. But I saw them. They were happy. Saw myself now. I am happy. So there will be people who would have their own definitions of what makes them happy. Maybe even entirely different of what what's your definition of happiness? But when you come to think of it, we humans, we are creatures, we are beings in constant search of happiness. That everything we do, big or small, is an act motivated to find happiness. Why are you guys sitting here right now? Why are you posting that Instagram story? Why do you order low-fat milk at Starbucks? Why do you go to college? Why do you choose not to go to college? Why do we go on Tinder and find love? Why do you want to watch Little Mermaid? Right? Why would you want to move to a new city? Why am I wearing this beautiful green dress? You know, we are all beings in search of happiness. And when you realize that the person sitting next to you, to his very core, to the very core of his or her existence, yearns the very same thing that you want, that's when you have understanding. That's when you have compassion. And where there is compassion, there is kindness. And where there is kindness, there's happiness. Because if there's one thing that all my experience has taught me, is that happiness is not defined by one moment, experience, person, place. It doesn't define by any one thing. The essence of happiness is every time you realize that the decisions you make, whether they're big or they're small, align with the goodness that is within your soul. That's what happiness is. There can be a universe of what that is. But when that happens, best believe to always be courageous, present, and grateful to hold it within your grasp. So when you already found that flame of happiness inside you, there's nothing left to do but to share it. You know, it's like a flame in a candle. You know, sharing genuine happiness with others should not take away from your own. It only burns brighter. So my hope for today is that I wish that I have lit 100 or 1,000 more candles and lights of happiness in this room and the people who would see this video. And with that, I would like to thank you everyone for sharing your light with me. It's a happy day, it's a happy life. So thank you everyone and have a great day.